Hello, I'm Dr. T, and today I'm going to preach you about how to build a mushroom grow chamber. Especially if you want to grow mushrooms at home, this is going to be very important for you to have. When you're just starting out with growing mushrooms, you can grow mushrooms without having a box like this, but in that case, there will be some issues. More likely, depends very much on the mushroom types that you want to grow, but still, a box like this is going to provide your mushrooms with the proper conditions they need for an optimal development. So this is a very simple low-tech box, what you see in this picture, and I believe that you can build one of these with less than $50 for the setup, but of course you'll need to pay for the fish tank in this case, and depends very much on the amount of mushrooms that you want to grow, because you can have higher volume or lower volume, depends how much do you want to invest in this project. Anyway, I'm going to present you here at least two boxes like this, and one it's a little bit more complex because it has more variables to it, but the other one it's more simpler, and I'll let you pick the one that you want to pick. So what's suitable for you. Now I need you to understand why do you need a box like this at first. So when you're going to use a box like this to grow mushrooms for your own kitchen, you're going to have a success rate of 100%. Of course, you can grow mushrooms without it, but probably your success rate is going to be around 60%. And what happens in that case? In most cases, mushrooms fail to form. And this is one thing which is quite common. Imagine yourself that you're just sitting and waiting, and those mushrooms don't fruit, and you're just wondering why. Well, this doesn't happen with a box like that when you have one. In the second case, you have a scenario in which the pinheads start to form, but they dry out. It's like in the first day they start to form, they look nicely, and the second day they just dry out, and you're just wondering why, what's going on. So when you have a box like this, that doesn't happen. You can experience some other issues like discolored fruit bodies, cracked fruit bodies because of low humidity, long stem or small cap fruit bodies, upward curled fruit bodies, and of course low yields. So if you want to provide your mushrooms with climate, then you're going to erase all of these things from the list that you see here. Now let's dive a little bit more into some of the issues that you might encounter when you don't have a box like this. In the first picture here, you can see that the fruit bodies, the pinheads, they started to form, and they should look pretty much like in picture B. That's a yellow oyster mushroom, but they just dried out, and that happened just because it wasn't optimal conditions for them to form. So mushrooms are sensitive, and they need you to offer them as much as you can. So In the picture on your left, lower left, you can see that fruit bodies, they started to pin, and then they started somehow to develop themselves, but still they didn't form big beautiful clusters because in the meantime they dried out. So that's another issue that could happen. And when you have the proper conditions for them, guess what? They form beautiful clusters like what you see in image D. Let's see what other problems you might get if you don't have one of these. You might get some fruit bodies at one point, but they start to look kind of funky. For example, in a picture labeled with A here, you can see that this king oyster, especially the stem, looks kind of cracked. See? And it's the same in picture B. So that mushroom didn't even develop because it just got cracked. When you offer that mushroom conditions, that doesn't happen. In pictures labeled with C, you can see that there's a discoloration of the fruit body, and those other fruit bodies around are more like normal looking fruit bodies, but not that in the center. And in the other case, picture labeled with D here, you can see that the mushrooms form, it didn't really had enough humidity, and of course the temp was kind of high, so it started to control environment in your mushroom chamber. So this is our chamber. This is how it looks. You can see that there's plenty of mushrooms that are feeling good because they got all the optimal conditions they need, and they seem to be very happy. Let's go for presentation. What do we need in order to build a box? A fish tank. If you have a fish tank, that. If not, you can go out there and you can check a thrift store for fish tanks, so you can get one of these. And the Lamar is going to get one in a new one. So you can get all these parts, maybe not the part and that's going to cost you. And the other ones you'll have to purchase, maybe you'll go to a store. First of all, you'll need a chamber, the fish tank. Secondly, you'll need an ultrasonic humidifier, and I would advise you to go for a bigger capacity, not a very small capacity humidifier like this, because that's going to count, especially if you don't want to fill that up with water every day of the week. The higher the humidifier, the better. In that case, you'll have to fill that up with water probably once a week, not 3 times, 4 times a week, as it would be in a low capacity, low volume. And you're going to need some other things like a measuring device, only if you want to track the humidity and the CO2 and all of that. You also need a pipe. That pipe is going to be connected to the plastic container, and the plastic container is going to be connected to the connection pipe that it's going to be attached to the ultrasonic humidifier. And you'll need a light, especially if you're thinking to put this box somewhere like in a low light condition, maybe in a garage, let's say, then you will need that definitely. Or if you're going to put that outside, then you don't need to have a light because you have natural light there. What else you'll need is a cooler fan. Depends very much on the size of your box. So if you have a small size box like a that holds 3 to 5 blocks, then you can have something really small. You don't really need that actually, because the ultrasonic humidifier is going to push the steam in the box that already comes with a blower. But just in case that you're not going to run that quite often, like let's say it's not going to be on all the time, then it's best if you have a fan like this, an additional fan, because you don't want to build up CO2 in that box, and then your mushrooms will respond to that kind of high level of CO2. You'll need also 2 timers. It's 2 because you'll have to have in parallel the light and the fan, and on the other side you'll have the humidifier. A heat mat is good to have only if you're going to have a humidifier that doesn't provide you with warm heat and cold mist as well. There are some humidifier kinds or types that have those 2 options integrated in them. If you have one of those, then you don't need a heat mat. If you don't find anything like that, then you probably will need one, unless you're going to have this in your living room, for example, or somewhere in a room where it's a continuous temp, pretty much. A phone charger or 2 phone chargers depends very much on the setup needed for the blower, and what else you'll need. It's a cord with outlet on it, some tape, it's good to have, a handle, and of course plexiglass. I picked plexiglass just because it's good to see your mushroom spinning, you know, to see what's going on there. You can use some other material if you want, some kind of boards. They don't have to be transparent, but it's different when you have something transparent and you see what's going on. A cork and a holder. The cork is going to be important to have, so you can place that at the end of the pipe, and the holder is going to hold the pipe. The pipe, it's meant to be in there to provide your mushrooms with a proper humidity. So let's get a little bit further, and then we're going to see what other things you'll need. You'll need silicone only if you want to seal the edges, and I didn't use anything like that, but if you really want to make sure that your whole setup is efficient, then it's a good thing to have something like that. You'll need a drilling machine because you need to place holes in the pipe, a drill bit, and a plexiglass cutting tool, because you have there 2 parts of plexiglass. A soldering gun is going to be good if you want to take out the sensor from the measuring device there. The sensor is going to be placed inside the box, and you'll need to take that apart I'm talking about the display, and then you'll have to take out the sensor, attach some wires to that, and then it's going to be good to go. Of course, if you believe that your mushrooms have the proper humidity in there, then you don't have to do this whole thing. But if you want something really cool and professional looking chamber like that, and see when you have lower and higher humidity in there, it's a good thing to do. Now these other things here like alcohol and spray bottles and cloth rug, it's good to have alcohol because you want to clean up your box after every single mushroom growth cycle, and you'll place that in a spray bottle. The other bottle that you need here, it's for water, because from time to time you'll have to water your mushrooms as well. It's not enough to provide them just with mist. In some cases you can alternate that with some water. And the cloth rug, it's good to have to, you know, to make sure that you can clean up well that box inside. Now let's see what else. Here you may see a design. It's a drawing, more likely, on the details that this box contains and has. Now I would say let's start with the humidity system here. So you may see that the humidifier, it's on a timer, and it's connected to the chamber through the plastic container. You have to make a hole through the lid in order to do that, to connect it, and then on the other side you make another hole, and through that hole you'll place the pipe, and the pipe is going to have a bunch of holes downwards, and at the end of the pipe you can add a cork. You can stop that. It's not 100% necessary, it's up to you if you want to add that over there. Now let's get to the fan. You see that the fan, it's positioned at the floor level, and that's a strategic point because at the floor level you have the CO2 accumulating, and that's going to push up the air from there. And you can see that on the other side of the box there's an aperture, an opening, or you can have flaps in that area, and through that opening you'll have the the CO2 coming out, so you need that opening over there, otherwise it's just going to accumulate inside. So you need some kind of opening. You may see that the plexiglass, it's cut in two. One part it's stable and the other one it's movable because it has a handle, and that's important because that's where you're going to place in your blocks, and that's where you're going to take them out as well. So you need that part to be flexible. On the top it's the light, and you may see that the light, it's connected in parallel with the fan, and they're on one timer. Now the sensor, I placed it on the left side, and I placed it there just because I want to measure that area of the box which is closer to the opening. This doesn't mean that if the displays shows like 50% humidity in that area, this doesn't mean that on the right side you have less than that or more than that. There will be probably more than that, but because on the left side is the opening, I would. So this is my mushroom grow chamber. Inside you may see the pipe, which is perforated, and it's responsible for putting in the humidity inside the box. The humidifier, it has this regulator that may be on low, on mid, or on high. You will see it in a moment. The box also has this fan, which works right now in parallel with the light, as we discussed earlier. And you will see also the timers. Now they're on a winter schedule, and inside the box I have the heat mat, because my humidifier doesn't have that option, in which I told you that you might get some humidifiers with warm and cold mist as well. And what else I can tell you about this box? Now I turned the humidity on high, and you may see the mist coming through the holes. And that's important, you know, when you have the right humidity inside. And as you may see, the other side of the box, it has the handle. I'm talking about the plexiglass part. And now that I turned off the blower, you will see that the humidity level started to increase. It's going to get higher and higher, and at one point you won't be able to see the mushroom inside, which is pretty much what you need for growing mushrooms, but depends very much on the mushroom kinds that you have inside there. A more soft fruit body will require more mist, while some other ones like the king oyster here doesn't require that much. And now let's go a little bit more and see how you're going to run this setup. On how to run the grow box indoors or outdoors. Now, if it depends very much on the season, you know, because in the summer you can run it in a way, and in the winter you may run it in a different way. So if your box is indoors, then you can run it on mid. On mid, well, what does it mean mid? It means that you can adjust the humidity from the humidifier, and that means on mid. You have three positions. You have low, mid, and high humidity there. And during the night you don't have to leave it on. You can run it for 30 minutes on and 1 hour off, or you can leave it continuously if it's hot inside the house. You can alternate that with up to 2 times per day of spraying water, but that's not really necessary. You have to see more if your mushrooms really need that step or not. If you feel that that step um, doesn't it's not needed, then don't do it. If it's needed, then do it. So if you're going to have your box somewhere outdoor, then you're going to have to run that on, to have it on all the time. Outdoors, the conditions are a little bit different than indoors, and especially in the summer, you'll have to have that on all the time. And also to mist your mushrooms twice a day. If you're thinking about the regime for the fan and the light, you can disconnect the light from it if you're going to have it outdoors, or if you have it indoors where it's light. But this, you might run it for like 30 minutes on and 2 hours off, and that's the same regime for outdoor or indoor. And you will see that it's the same regime for winter as well. But in terms of humidity, you can have a different schedule for winter. If your box is inside, then you can run it for 30 minutes on and 30 minutes off. While in the night, during the night, 30 minutes on and 2 hours off. And outdoors, if you'll have it, then just leave it on. As I noticed, even in the winter time, you have to have quite some moisture in there, and if you're going to run it in a different way, you gotta make sure that you're going to also spray your mushrooms with water. Now I want to tell you a little bit more about how much yield does a box like this provide you with. Now, I would say that minimum what you're going to have in a box like this, of this size, is going to be 3 blocks. But as I told you, if you organize the place in there well, you can have more than that, even up to 6 blocks. And of course, depends also on the size of the blocks. Now, if you want chestnuts in there, then you're going to have a minimum of 3 kilos or 6.6 pounds of mushrooms per cycle. If you're going to grow oyster mushrooms, that you're going to have the same amount about. If you're thinking about king oyster mushrooms, you're going to have less, somewhere around 3 pounds per cycle, or a kilo 35. Lion's mane, it's almost the same. Shiitake as well, and of course you can grow button mushrooms in there, and this is what I estimate that you could get if you would have button mushrooms growing in a box like that in trays. So as you may see, depends very much on the size of your blocks that you're going to have in there, and on the volume of the chamber itself. In this presentation I have two chambers, so you can see what means low, small scale and a bigger scale, of 10 up to 15 blocks in the other one. And of course, when you're going to have more space in there, you're going to have more mushrooms as well, and you can keep that inside or outside. So I hope that everything makes sense, and next I'm going to present you the other kind of grow chamber, which has a little bit more capacity. It's a simple setup. You can turn it into something more professional if you want, like what you saw in here, even more elaborated than this. But depends very much on you. Well, what do you want? You want to see the conditions in there. You don't care about the conditions, but on the harvest, yeah. So what you see in this picture here, I had this several years ago, and you may see that you can adjust your setup very easily by using plastic foil, and you can just wrap up these shelves and add a humidifier in there, and then you can have some very good space to grow mushrooms. Yeah, so thanks so much for participating, and I hope you learned something from it. Make sure that you set up a box like this, because this is going to make a difference, definitely.